Peter Tyrer's overwhelming contribution to psychiatry has been in the field of personality disorder.
More than anyone else I know, Peter has worked really hard to ensure that personality and personality disorder is right at the heart of what psychiatry is all about.
He was researching this area when nobody had any interest in it at all, and he has continued to work in that area and in that field throughout his life. He has done other things as well, of course, but that has been his major contribution.
People need a quick response at times of crisis, and Peter was one of the first psychiatrists to set up a team that went off and saw people when they needed help most.
Well, he's been a refreshing force, a force for good, because he tells it like it is.
Peter's very hard-working and diligent and knowledgeable, highly knowledgeable about lots of things.
The World Health Organization thought he was great and made him chair their working party on personality disorders. And when the Americans got wind of that, they had him over to Washington.
He has produced hundreds of scientific papers in peer-reviewed journals. He has produced many, many books. So as well as his acumen as a researcher in personality disorder and editor of the British Journal of Psychiatry, the sheer volume of his presentations and of his research and of his work is something that I think everybody acknowledges.
Over a number of years, people have written about what good community mental health services should look like. And a lot of that is based on the work that Peter has done, not only as a researcher, but as a committed clinician. In developing NIDA therapy, of course, he's gone that extra mile and developed a whole way of thinking about changing the social environment that goes far beyond the kind of trite comments that some people make in terms of this holistic approach to patient care.
Well, Peter was hard-working at school, and he always did somewhat better than I did, but he was very absent-minded and disorganised. On one of my school reports, they had written, "He is much better than his brother at turning up in the right place at the right time with the right books." And Peter really, he kept forgetting things, and he was placed on a report card. A report card is issued to dunces and delinquents, and this offended Peter massively, and he thought, I'll show them. And he came top at the end of the year of the class. And that's really, I think, if it's on his epitaph on his tomb should be, I'll show them, and I think he has.
As well as seeing patients and being a clinician, actually gives them practical help and thinks outside the box when he's dealing with patients.
A particular example of that comes to mind with a patient who was living in terrible circumstances, and people were having meetings and thinking about how to help him. Peter went round to his home, saw the state of his flat, and got the paintbrush out and started painting the flat. He got his team to paint the flat over the course of the weekend, and everyone was complaining that there were people who should be doing their painting. He saw what the patient needed, and he got on and did it.
At a personal level, Peter is very entertaining and very funny.
If he was in a long college meeting, Peter Tyrer could be relied upon to either burst into song or recite a poem which was usually disrespectful to the matters under discussion, and cheered everybody up. And we woken up and we started listening again.
I soon discovered that as a medical student, Peter had worked as an occasional gardener for the famous comedian and goon Spike Milligan. Peter's told the story that he didn't like to tell Spike that he was an identical twin, because he was pretty sure that Spike would not give him his wages on the grounds that he might be the other one.
Peter was always very family-oriented, his children and his brother. He's very close to his twin brother. And I was struck by the fact that they were both psychiatrists, identical twins, both psychiatrists, both reaching the pinnacle of their different aspects of psychiatry in which they were working.
Professor Stephen Hirsch had a valedictory lecture series, and 4 or 5 esteemed people all gave lectures, and Peter couldn't give his talk, so he gave the script to me and said, could you give this talk? And the person in charge of the proceedings knew about this, nobody else did, and I gave Peter's talk to the whole audience, including Stephen Hirsch, who knows me very well but didn't recognise I wasn't Peter. And everybody that went to that meeting still believes that it was Peter Tyrer that gave that talk.
I should like to end my tribute to Peter with a few verses of my own. He strides the mind's marvellous universe, a colossus of ideas and thought, yet is the friend of narrow and nowhere souls, enchained by their fear and their doubt. He holds out the hope of a helping hand, accepting with a clear-sighted view of the best and the worst mankind throws up, fearless in the search for what's true. He tells how it is to those who get lost and sees off the chimera of ambition, generous with tough love to those who fall short, kindly mindful of the human condition.
He's a kind man, he's a funny man, he's also a reflective man, but he's a man who overall brings joy and happiness and shines goodness to people.